So Venus Spica Moon Hour. Right now we have ascendant 7-degree Capricorn, but the midheaven is on Spica, so this is good time to call for Spica. And let's see, I like me a Spica talisman that I made, where I conjoined Venus. It wasn't best of elections, but it wasn't that terrible either, huh? And I used Andromeda as well, okay? And I call on the workings of Venus Spica. I also like to give reverence to Helwa's Astro, that did Spica talisman. I think it was Venus Spica. I know also Sphere and Sundry did Venus Spica. And so Spica is about taking steps to get the justice done. And this is Moon Hour right now. Moon in 14 degrees Aquarius, okay? So it is sextiling the Sun and Mercury and the Mercury Cassini. And Spica, well, it's not quote, it's just what I remember from the Sphere and Sundry, what Caitlin wrote about Venus Spica, is that it allows you to speak up for yourself, especially for those Librans that tend to be accommodating, okay, kind of like people pleasing, afraid of confrontation. Then Spica allows you to get your voice heard, to get the justice done. Also when it comes to trade, okay? From Helwa's Astro, it is success in lawsuits. She used the wheat, okay? And the wheat and the trade. And this is about getting the information. So let's say you speak up, okay, and you're afraid of litigation against defamation and so on and so forth. Working with the Spica talisman will assist you to get the information correct. For example, I tell you that to curate from sexual trauma, you need to speak up. For autoplans, you need to speak up publicly. It is of interest of the public. There are changes in lawsuits. The procedure of the jury has to allow you to be able to speak and recover. The principle of I spoke the truth are standing in your favor. Nobody has right to silence you. Silencing you is causing you mental ailment and prolonging, is cooperating with the human trafficking that you were put in, which is a crime against humanity and is punishable by death, okay? So again, this is not to force anybody to speak, but if you cross the threshold when you need to speak. And another thing, you're not also forced to speak. You cannot force, because this is another form of the victimization, of cooperating. And so this is why when we treated those types of crimes, whether in the astral or in the physical, the process of the jury is different. Because if you will not heal, okay, you will begin to develop ailments. Your fertility will develop, your life will be affected. And so, first and foremost, you seen, you believed. That is something that people need to be very well informed of. Attempts to put litigation or to confiscate your wealth through speaking up and recovering from sexual trauma are crimes against humanity and punishable by death, okay? This is something, entire juristic is going to go very, oh my godness about this, because people that have been defending themselves from rape and murdering rapists were put in jail. This is, putting them in jail was crime against humanity, which is punishable by death. So there's just so many things where now Venus with Pluto is transforming, and she is in the sign of law. Of debt, okay, of enslavement and stuff like that, cooperation, but also climbing up the ladder. So Spica is great to call upon for justice where your voice is involved. Where you were wronged, you could be financially wronged, and then you didn't have money for housing, so then you had your problems with your sexual well-being, okay, or put in human trade. And so whether it began with the finances or began with the sexuality, those are two ways to get at the same thing, and you get a justice for that. So this is the working with spica. Also, when it comes to court of law, cases like, judges putting other people on pedophilia, psychologists putting other people on pedophilia when they are the pedophiles that kidnap children for satanic ritual abuse. Those things. Here's exactly those things. When there was smear campaign against you that got to the point that it's difficult for you to work or to live and something like that, then that is another issue. Okay, so spica is about all these things, and the moon right now is a moon hour, so it's Venus day. Midheaven was on spica as I began to record, and that's a different way to access Venus. Okay, there's the setting the boundary, which is better per se, and the spica is about the legalities. Spica is about setting boundaries and getting justice, and getting your wealth restored. Okay, if better per se is like sex offenses back to sex offender, okay, with everything that entails, the deflective magic. Okay, yes, it is a deflective magic. If you send somebody rape, don't be surprised that it goes back to sender, right? If that's what you put to the arrow, then when the arrow comes back, don't cry over it. Because when we say back to sender, we say known and unknown. We never say it's back to this, it's back to that. No. If you didn't send anything, you wouldn't get anything. But if you sent for a person to be raped for days, raped for this, even if they were, okay? When you do the back to sender, don't come crying. Or either you find a way to cancel your spells or stop sending them. That would be the best, okay? But this is the better per se. Spica is more about I spoke the truth. If the offense was in a way that is hidden, now with Venus Pluto, psychological, psychic spells, witchcraft, astral projection, and so on, and it's usually done by people who are considered academic. That this will not be considered as something that would be taken into consideration in court. Wrong. It's also not true legally. There are court procedures relating to that. Okay? To cast malefic spells on an innocent person, we're talking about the back to sender, is considered offense. It's a crime. Okay? So, I say, oh, but what is evidence? What is this? What is that? Ain't nothing to it. If a person not house, not this, not that, not that, first of all, they need for the housing, they need for everything. And if you were doing smearing campaign, you think the judge will not know it? Of course they will know it. Then the same logic. And they have to do good things as well, So it's not, but it's also to remember the corruption in juristics. And this is something, we also take into account. Spica is also trade, so successful in trade. Now, the Spica, from Christopher Warnock, the lunar mentioned that with Spica, it is usually not so benefic for relationship because it causes separation because of wealth. Now, let's put it that way. In modern eye, we should not be in a situation where discussion of wealth causes a separation. If it does, it means that the connection has not been connection-y, right? Any attempts to create, I woke up with attempts to try and make the lower spine, which is this area associated with Spica, to try to make that, not healthy. And what do we say about this? Well, this is, of course, backfiring, but this is basically trying to cause people to be not supported. Lower back is about support. We use cedarwood essential oil for that, to be supported. So you feel like you're not alone, okay? And this is a very Libra problem, but not only. So anybody to try, there's something called the Yechasei Tmicha, which is basically sugaring. The breaking of any vows to somebody made, or the breaking of any such relations, any spells meant to put people in such relations. This is human trafficking. It's for sex espionage, okay? Is it slavery? It's not relations. So, and this is for the court of law. Both the divorce and also for men. Divorce should not get men in point where they have to do crime to survive. Okay? So any attempts on the confiscation of wealth upon divorce backfires. And again, I'm not talking about situation where people have wealth together. For example, if I can think about myself, if the people that attacked me were not groomers, they would get dividends. Because if somebody gives me idea and I apply it to do my business, and they don't try to confiscate my life, plagiarize everything I do or something like that, not only they get credit, but when money changes hands, I'm like, hey, you were behaving this way because you didn't have wealth? Okay, now this money changes hands, now you get dividends, now you don't have to behave this way. Because that's how I see it, okay? But they continue to do this, now it's a problem. They won't be able to have claims on the wealth because they try to take me down. If you try to take me down, you won't be able to claim for the wealth. And it can be even that I would want to give you dividends. Okay? Even if you are enemy to me, even if, let's say this Shanice Ordi, okay, she was betraying me, okay, but I know that she bought house, a single woman, and I know she was doing job of holistic medicine that was considered controversial, and I know she was working on fertility, she was highly targeted, and I know she has a moon in Capricorn, so people like that tend to feel, tend to get delay in having their needs met, which makes her more susceptible to baleful moon magic, okay? So, for me, as far as I'm concerned, for that I'm successful and something like that, she would only get benefit. First of all, I would not be able to handle all the clients, right? I would not be able to handle all the people come to me, and I would say, okay, go, here I have my teacher, and here she has course, here she has this, here she has that. But if I want to do that and she's not ready to receive dividends because she's still involved in stuff like that, then that needs to be corrected. Or I begin to say, okay, it's corrected, it's solved, but she's still trying to go into my energy and invert stuff. Oh. So I would see that. That is spica, because spica is also when you want to share dividends. Person could have been doing harm to you, but you say, okay, what the reason they made harm? They were afraid, they were this, they were that. Okay, let's repent, let's correct, don't be afraid of success. I give the story of the shipping companies, and literally they tried to make me forget this story. I don't know why, but I guess I will find out. But when I was traveling with my mom back from Europe, it was November. She wanted me to see Christmas, but it was so snowy that it was so cold and we couldn't. So we came back to Israel, but it was November and there were no ferries to Israel. And so we went to one shipping company and he said, okay, we don't have, it's very dangerous, the sea is very dangerous, but please hold on, sit, drink a coffee, we'll call our colleagues and see if they have. And my mom was like, oh my God, you're calling your colleagues, aren't you in competition? She said, no, we work together. Sometimes client for us, sometimes client for them is enough. Because if there are 6 shipping companies, let's say, in the block, then what happens? Okay, you go around the block, there's one shipping company. You're like, what do I need shipping? What am I, Queen Elizabeth? Okay. By the way, Queen Elizabeth was a fairy from UK for the US. 3 weeks ferry. Okay, I know because we wanted to take this, but it's still too claustrophobic. Okay, it's 3 weeks on the sea, and that's quite intense, but it's very expensive because they couldn't travel by plane. And so, you see, what am I, Queen Elizabeth? What do I need to that? Ferries. But if there are 2, it's like, okay, what's that? If there's 7, oh, I see million people do that. Let's see, what is this? What is this thing you have favorite? Oh, did you know that for a plane ticket you could get an entire ride for a whole week for a ferry? And if I'm doing reclama for a ferry, I want dividends for that. Dividends is vacations, okay? Oh, gotta take my mama to Greece. Man. Anyway, but did you know that with the flight tickets and all that, you can all these hotels, you can get the ferry, and you could get 3 meals a day. You can get a cabin. You can go around. Okay, if we see the places, you have a duty free in the shop. You have okay, but you have to make it fair. Okay, not to enslave people. People are enslaved on ships as well. You have to correct that. You have to correct the karma for the wealth to come in. You know. And so, did you know that? So you said, like, oh my God, I had no idea this is a possibility. And so you thought that thing was, what am I, Queen Elizabeth? You find out, no, it's actually cheaper. And you get treated well. Okay? So, if there is one place, one ferry company, you're like, okay, that I guess I don't know who does that. But if it's a couple, and each one is different. So it's money for everyone. This is something that I learned when I did import-export, and they talked about the mall. Why is the mall so successful? Okay, you have one textile shop, one clothes shop. You say, what am I, Queen Elizabeth? I tailor my clothes. My mama used to make her own clothes. They weren't the size. Okay, she was a bit extra size, so to make her own clothes. And then she began to make her clothing line. And then they confiscated her from all over, that she, God forbid, won't be successful. I can't tell you how much these things backfire on the long run, but the thing is, and it was the very same person that she had working for publicity. So they became from working at the grocery shop to doing some textile and becoming international. I'm not going to say no names. They're going to get the karma when they go to get the karma. They can correct the karma. For example, take the dumb fuckery over the name of our family would be a smart decision. And so, when you see, we talk about spica. It's my 8th house, lineage. And I have Venus, it's textile, it's clothes. But it's also important for the clothes, for the fabrics to be created ethically. And so you see how these things work. Yeah. And then you would think competition is bad for you. No, competition is good for you. And you're always going to have enough clients. For example, when Caitlin Kopok began to do body butters, okay, nobody the fuck knew that it won't hold, it won't this, and won't that. They did not want a woman doing tema mundi. Okay? They did not want a woman tending to, because a woman, okay, she wants to give birth, okay, if she gives birth to one baby, maybe she wants more babies, I don't know. She wants the birthing experience to be orgasmic, right? Can't do this with inversion, with bad malefic lunar magic, fertility Venus magic, okay? Can't do this. Can't do this with victim blaming. All things that they must go away from lineage. Can't do, okay, and things are not clear. Okay. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Anyway, yeah, my mom doesn't let me speak in English. Sorry about that. Anyway, but then when we talk about the fertility, okay, for example, the things that are difficult for us to understand with Libra, it seems like, oh, if a person been cheating or been that, there is karma. Wait. Let's go even deeper. Sexual boundary violations, sex espionages, attempts to, in the cult, there are attempts. There was literally Okay, I'm sorry, but there was attempt to make me somehow be connected with Austin. It only got me to understand, to see who is that Sphere and Sundry. And Austin was not blaming him. But this is the work, and to try to create something to confuse, to say, and I was like, no, who is this woman? What is she doing? Or she doing talismanic magic? Oh, it seems like good energy. Well, let's work with that. Let's work with that on my own relational trauma. Let's work with that on those things, okay? And then when I would say, okay, you have to meet your needs of your moon, I meet that, it would seem like I'm, doing malefic, but no. And that is, you see how all these things come about. And the thing is, people did not want a woman working on fertility, because she's going to find out. She's going to know. She's going to know the person she thought was a whore or cheating, this person that tried to put in sex espionage, somebody shape-shifted into energy. Okay? It is those things. People try to give hypnotic commands. Okay, for example, when I was in academia, give hypnotic commands, so you would be attracted to them.